Brandon Gill is back at it again with another masterclass, humiliating another Democrat witness, just asking her some very basic questions point blank. And as you know, the left has gone so off the rails, so absurd, that they can't even answer basic questions. He humiliates her by straight up asking her, what is a birthing person? And he's like, I can't even get through this without laughing. This is one for the ages. My name is Clayton Kearns from TrendingPolitics.com. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. Now, I'm going to blow up the video here, and let's get right into it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It never gets boring in here. And I'd like to say thank you to the witnesses for being here and for taking the time. Ms. DeVito, thank you for coming here. In your testimony, you said that Americans deserve a government that works for them, a government that makes their lives easier and more secure. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Great. I'd like to read through a couple of the grants that DOGE has pulled back, and I'd like to get your take on them. They pulled back a $1.5 million NIH grant to Morehouse College. It was called the Center to Advance Reproductive Justice and Behavioral Health among Black, pregnant / postpartum women and birthing people. Do you think that that makes Americans' lives easier and more secure?
I think that medical and scientific research of all types.
Do you think that that constitutes critical research? According to your testimony, NIH grants are critical research?
I think that government research of all types in the medical.
Including of birthing people?
I think bench research of all types plays a fundamental role.
What is a birthing person?
Sir, I am here to talk about the DOGE impact.
Well, I'm asking you about this grant and you're defending it. So I'm asking you, who is birthing people?
I am not familiar with this grant. I take a position that all kinds of government research, medical, pharmaceutical,
Is a birthing person a woman? Is that another word for female?
That is outside the scope of my expertise.
Seems like erasure language to me. I've been told that that type of vernacular constitutes erasure language. How about another one? How about the conference, Gender Equity in the Mathematical Study of Commutative Algebra? Do you think that that's a valid form of government spending?
I think mathematical research of all types is deserving of government.
What about studying, and this is directly from the National Science Foundation's website, women and non-binary mathematicians?
Again, I think all kinds of government investment should be dedicated toward mathematical.
All kinds of government
scientific.
investment. You don't have any kind of limit on what we're spending our money on, just everything? Is that your testimony?
I am talking about DOGE. You brought up
So am I. This is a grant that DOGE cut.
I am not familiar with this particular grant, but I think government investment in mathematical, biological.
Okay. Let's do another one. This one is called hashtag Transcendent Health, adapting an LGB plus inclusive teen pregnancy prevention program for transgender boys. I can't even say this without laughing. Do you think that that is a useful form of our tax spend?
I am not familiar with that grant, but I think bench research, government investment in scientific and pharmaceutical
Teen pregnancy
research.
for transgender boys. Do you think that that is a useful spend of our tax dollars?
I think government investment in all kinds of scientific research is of the utmost importance.
Including pregnancy prevention for transgender boys. Okay. Let me ask you, we can come back to this later maybe. Do you support abolishing the filibuster still?
I am here to talk about DOGE respectfully.
Right. We could abolish the filibuster and get a lot of DOGE cuts through. And you've written at length on your Twitter about abolishing the filibuster. I'm just curious if you think that we should do that still.
I did a lot of previous work on different topics because I am an economic policy expert, and respectfully, I'm here to talk about DOGE cuts.
Okay, but we could abolish the filibuster and get DOGE cuts. This is totally germane here. Do you think we should?
I am here to talk about DOGE cuts, not strategies for achieving more of them, but the harms that they have produced for working families.
That's a convenient change of opinion. I noticed that most of your comments about the filibuster were during the Biden administration. But we can move on. Let's go back to some more of these grants. Do you think that we should be spending money on, quote, the racialized basis of trait judgments from faces?
I am not at all familiar with that grant.
It's a $500,000 NSF grant.
Okay, I am not familiar with the subject matter or the
But
particular
you're
grant.
defending these.
I am saying that I think the government
You're pretty
has-
adamant against Doge cuts, and I'm asking you if you support the cuts
I think that
that
there
Doge
is
has found.
economic and medical, public health, communal benefit to
What
the
about
government
cross-sex
investing
steroid therapy and cardiovascular risk in the transgender female?
Again, I think government investment in scientific research is
Great.
important.
Thank you for your testimony. I appreciate it.
Wow. So I'm going to show you another clip here of Marjorie Taylor Greene grilling this same liberal woman. But how sick does it make you to know that your tax dollars, were going to programs and grants that was educating people about transgender preventing pregnancy in transgender teen boys? How does that make you feel? Absolutely disgusts me. So let's watch Marjorie Taylor Greene now absolutely grill this woman, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions. The Doge website details much of the wasteful spending and it hits the brakes on, and it has an incredible list of top hits. Some of the spending is not just embarrassing, but it is funding actually the genital mutilation of our children, forcing the American taxpayers to pay for it. A $620,000 HHS grant for hashtag Transcendent Health, adapting an LGBT plus inclusive teen prevention program for transgender boys. $620,000 from HHS. It's absurd. This is disgusting, and it facilitates a lie. Here's another one. A $2,000 NIH grant for cross-sex steroid therapy and cardiovascular risk in transgender females. This is another absurd grant that was handed out. A $120,000 NIH grant for personalized 3D avatar tool development for measurement of body perception across gender identities. Here's another absurd grant that, again, tells the lie that there's more than two genders. There's only two, male and female. That's it. Something else that the American people should know about, these radical extremist judges that are playing politics from the bench, a judge ruled that this has to be protected. This is a HHS program for gender-affirming care in young people. Again, the only thing that affirms gender is the fact that there's only two sexes, male and female, and the American people should never have to pay for that lie. Ms. DeVito, in your testimony, you talk about so-called failures of Doge in your opinion. But do you support the federal government funding HHS and NIH studies that promote the genital mutilation of children? Do you support forcing Americans to pay for genital mutilation of children? Yes or no, Ms. DeVito?
Thank you for your question. I think we all agree that the government should work for people.
No, I asked you, do you support genital mutilation of children and the American people having to pay for it? That's a yes or no question.
I think government research is responsible for all sorts of innovations that we
So
employ
you do,
today.
so for the record, you do support the American people paying for top and bottom surgeries of children.
I think
Cutting off the breast of young girls, teenage girls, and castrating teenage boys. You support the American people paying for that.
I think government research is incredibly important.
That's
to
not
our
research,
overall
Ms.
innovation.
DeVito. That's mutilating kids' bodies before they're old enough to vote, before they're old enough to join the military, before they're old enough to even be adults. That's what you're saying the American people should pay for. Just so you know, Ms. DeVito, and I'm very proud to announce that I have a bill called Protect Children's Innocence Act that will criminalize sex changes on children, and that bill will see a vote on the House floor, and I look forward to my Republican colleagues and hopefully Democrats that come to their senses voting yes for that bill, because it's absolutely repulsive and disgusting, and America voted against that this past election. Sick. Mr. Dickerson, how do we implement cuts and appropriations moving forward to prevent these agencies from ever being able to fund these studies that promote the mutilation of children's bodies ever again?
I think what you need to do is ensure those riders are included in the appropriations bills that are passed to clarify to the agencies that even though they have never actually received authorization for these, so they shouldn't have actually done it in the first place, but if they need that funding rider to restrict American taxpayer funds for going to those terribly divisive and harmful things.
Yeah, permanently, right? Thank
Exactly.
you. Other egregious abuses of funds, a $10 million Department of Education grant to the Virginia Commonwealth University for faculty workshops on decolonizing the curriculum, a nearly $700,000 National Science Foundation grant to the University of Tennessee for Black and Latinx parents leading reform and advancing racial justice in elementary mathematics, a project that could provide a model for other communities and schools seeking to advance racial justice in mathematics and education. This is insane, absurd, and it's racist in itself. Math is math. A $500,000 EPA grant, Green Jobs, growing a new generation of environmental justice problem solvers. All of this stuff is far left ideology, and the American people should not be paying for it. It looks like.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I know this video probably made you a little sick to your stomach to understand everything that our taxpayer dollars are going towards, but that is where we find ourselves. And thank God for President Trump and his administration for trying to get this tax fraud and abuse out of our system. So let me know what you think about this video in the comments below, and make sure to like this video.